So what is the role of the product owner? What does the product owner do? Some folks may struggle with this question, but I want to give you a quick way of getting the role of the product owner down tight. The product owner does a number of things, but you got to think about the sequential nature of the product owner's involvement. So one, you got to think about backlog preparation. Okay. I would even dial back a step further and say, we're going to make backlog preparation. And number two, we're going to talk about the product vision. And we're going to talk about everything that happens in between. We could talk about the product vision. We could talk about the roadmap, product roadmap. Now, these are not talked about in the Scrum Guide, but it's good for you to think sequentially like this. The product vision, the product roadmap. You could even say the release plans. So this could be appended to include the release plans as number three. And then you could talk about the backlog preparation. Then you could talk about the sprint planning. So what is the role of the product owner with regards to product vision? Roadmap. They develop the vision, they develop the roadmap, they develop the release plans along with stakeholders, backlog preparation, they're heavily involved in that, sprint planning, of course, they show up for that as well. They are well aware of what the developers are aiming to do. If the developers have questions, they're going to ask the product owner. Then we have the daily scrum. They do not need to attend the daily scrum. So understand their role there. If they are developers, then they could attend. Then we talk about backlog refinement. Backlog refinement. So that's one that the product owner should be front and center, because the product owner understands what needs to be done. And as far as breaking those items down, the team may need the product owner's help, and the product owner needs the team's help, right? Because they are going to organize, prioritize the backlog. And then we can talk about the demo. And I like using alternate terms for these things because it makes you think, oh, what's that? So sprint review, what does a product owner do there? This is the product owner front and center as far as they know who to invite to the sprint review. They know the customer, the business unit, whoever that is. They're meant to know that really well. Number 9, sprint retrospective. They should definitely participate in the retrospective because this is for the Scrum team in totality. So whenever you're thinking about the role of the product owner, I want you to first of all think about the events that happen in Scrum. And based on that, you will be able to piece together what the product owner does in a structured way. And you won't be at a loss for words, as far as what the role of the product owner is. Now, to take it to the next level, when you're done with all that, my recommendation will be going down to scrumguides.org and hit product owner and read. Product owner is accountable for maximizing the value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team, accountable for developing and communicating the product goal, creating and clearly communicating product backlog items, ordering product backlog items, ensuring that the product backlog is transparent, visible, and understood. And they may do this all alone, or they may delegate it. But regardless, they are accountable. For product owners to succeed, the entire organization should respect their decisions. This is someone that carries a lot of clout, a lot of respect. And it's one person, it's not a committee. The product owner may represent the needs of many stakeholders in the product backlog. Those wanting to change the product backlog can do so by trying to convince the product owner. Now, that's at a sufficient level to understand what the product owner does. But to take it to the next level is understand the Scrum Master and the product owner interactions. So going down to the Scrum Master, and you see how the Scrum Master serves the product owner, it helps you better understand that relationship between them. So Scrum Master serves the product owner by helping find techniques for effective product goal definition and product backlog management, helping the Scrum team understand the need for clear and concise backlog items, helping establish empirical product planning for a complex environment, however they want to do the empirical product planning, and facilitating stakeholder collaboration as needed or as requested. So knowing that interrelationship between the product owner and the Scrum Master, it helps a whole lot. And then to finalize it, just go to developers and try to understand where does the product owner come in to what the developers do, right? So when you know the developer's role, you will not confuse it with the role of the product owner. This is the people in the Scrum team that are committed to creating any usable aspect. Product owner knows what needs to be done, but they're not the people doing the creation. It's the developers that are doing it. So this is one thing people often get mixed up with the product owner, creating a plan for the sprint. That's really the sprint planning. That's really the iteration plan, if you will, the sprint backlog. Well, developers are accountable for that. The product owner gives guidance as far as what needs to be done from a product perspective, but the sprint planning, that's the team. It's not the product owner who says, this is what we're going to do. No, it's the team that says, based on what you've shared, this is what we think we're going to have to do to achieve the goal. You know, whatever that product goal is, we break it down into sprints, or sprint by sprint. That plan is created by the team. They instill quality by adhering to a definition of done, which they decide on, adapting their plan each day towards a sprint goal, that's the team, and holding each other accountable as professionals. So the product owner is not the person holding the team accountable. No, the team holds itself accountable. The developers hold themselves accountable. And if you take a look at the Scrum team as an organism, well, the Scrum team holds itself accountable. So now you've understood the interrelationship between product owner, developers, product owner, Scrum Master, product owner, and the 5 events. Then you can have a high-level view of the Scrum team and just look for anywhere that it may mention anything to do with the product owner. So here it says, if Scrum teams become too large, they should consider reorganizing into multiple cohesive Scrum teams, each focused on the same product. Therefore, they should share the same product goal, product backlog, and it mentions product owner. So again, we're not looking to have multiple product owners. We want one product owner for one product. And then it says, the Scrum team is accountable for creating a valuable, useful increment every sprint. That's everyone together. Scrum defines 3 specific accountabilities, and there they are. All right, so that's how to tackle the product owner. And perhaps another time we'll tackle the role of the Scrum Master. But if you ever really want to fine-tune what the product owner does or what any of the other roles are, put them front and center, and then put all these events around them. You know, for example, we could do the same, very quick and dirty, high level, right? Let's do that for the Scrum Master. So let's put Scrum Master in here. Scrum Master. And the question is, what is the role of the Scrum Master? There are things that need to go here, right? This is not anything that the Scrum Master is involved in, right? Typically, could it work in the real world that the Scrum Master is involved in? That it could, but that is not their wheelhouse, right? It's not that. It's not release planning, right? Generally not this, right? Generally not that. Sprint planning, they could be present, right? And then we talk about the daily Scrum. They don't have to be in the daily Scrum. Contrary to what a lot of people have been told, actually the Scrum Master may not be in the daily Scrum. I know in the real world, we have people demanding that Scrum Masters run the daily Scrum. Doesn't have to be. We do want them in sprint planning though. Backlog refinement, it helps to have someone to facilitate, but again, it doesn't have to be them. That could actually be the product owner. So it's not bad for the Scrum Master to be involved with a young team for every step of the way. But as the team evolves, the Scrum Master could actually pull away from something like backlog refinement if it is being done. The demo and the sprint review, that'll be a good one for Scrum Master to be at, and of course the retrospective. But again, remember the Scrum Master is more like a facilitator. And it's he or she is a facilitator only when there is a request or when it has been decided among the team members for whatever reason that the Scrum Master will be the facilitator, but it doesn't have to be. So what I would expect again, to get a clear picture of this, you would go on down here, you go to Scrum Master, and you take a look at what the Scrum Master does, right? As far as how they serve the team. So they coach the team, they help the team focus on creating high value increments, they cause the removal of impediments, they ensure that the team that attends all its events, the Scrum events, and they make sure they're positive and productive. And then they serve the product owner in different ways. Like I said, I've already covered those. And then the Scrum Master serves the organization in several ways, leading, training, coaching, planning, and advising Scrum implementations across the entire firm, helping employees and stakeholders understand and enact an empirical approach for complex work and removing barriers, between stakeholders and Scrum teams. And that's what the Scrum Master is meant to do at that level. Now, if you go on down to the actual ceremonies, so the sprint, what you realize is that a lot of the work that happens here, what ensues in sprint planning, it says the whole Scrum team then collaborates to define a sprint goal. So the Scrum Master is expected to be in these meetings, not to skip these. But when it comes to the daily Scrum, it clearly said the daily Scrum is not the only time developers are allowed to adjust their plan. See, it keeps talking about developers. It says the purpose of the daily Scrum is to inspect progress for sprint goal and sprint backlog as necessary, adjusting unplanned work. Daily Scrum is a 50-minute event for the developers of the Scrum team. It's not for the Scrum Master. It says if the product owner or Scrum Master are actively working on items, they participate as developers. So that's the general mindset. I hope that it helps you align your mind with, who does what does the Scrum Master do, and what don't they do. So I'll get rid of these numbers. And when you boil it down, you can see that less ceremonies, or I should say events. We can actually get rid of that. That's not mandatory. We could say this is a 2, a 3, and a 4. This one is like one of those question marks, but along with backlog refinement. So we could say 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So there's a lot of things that the Scrum Master does behind the scenes that are not immediately visible until you read the details in the Scrum Guide. And just be aware that PMI's take on these things in the Agile Practice Guide is complementary. In some cases, a little bit more emphatic on other things. All right, I'll go ahead and take any questions.